Mamitakuyipi. Hello, friends and relatives. Yushkian wachian kaptek chante washte nape chiuzapiye. Washichu ia Carly Bad Harpel mieye. Dakota ia tokadakia maniwi emakiapiye. Wakpa ipaksha hamataha bade ota dedwatiye damakota. Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all today. I greet each of you with a good heart and a handshake. My name is Carly Bad Harpel. That's my name in English. In Dakota, I am Tokadakia Maniwi, or woman who walks toward the future. I'm a citizen of the Philandru Santee Sioux tribe, and I live in our Dakota homelands of Minnesota Makoche and Bade Ota Otue, also known as Minneapolis. Thank you all for sticking around. Welcome back to the home stretch of day 2 of the Native Americans in Philanthropy Conference. Yesterday, we gathered in connection, in truth, and in shared purpose. Today, we have continued that journey, going deeper, listening more closely, and challenging ourselves and one another to keep our Native communities front and center, upholding equity and justice in how we practice philanthropy here on Unchimaka, our grandmother earth. I invite each of you to engage with what's ahead, to honor the voices, wisdom, and leadership of our fellow Native people, including those who came before us, and to carry forward into action for those who are going to come after us. Pidamaya, thank you for being here, for showing up, and for being a part of this collective work. Now, as a former NAP board member and as executive director of an organization called Native Ways Federation, I just wanted to take a moment to speak about Native Ways Federation and an initiative that's deeply important to us, Native Nonprofit Day. Native Ways Federation is a national Native-led organization founded by and in partnership with many Native nonprofits, many of whom have been here the last few days with a shared goal to ensure that increased resources flow to Native communities and specifically to Native-led organizations. As we know, those closest to the challenges are also closest to the solutions. So that's why I'm excited to invite all of you to join us in celebrating Native Nonprofit Day on May 21st, 2026. So mark your calendars, get out your phones. Launched in 2022, Native Nonprofit Day is more than a moment, it's a movement. It's an annual collective giving effort dedicated to uplifting, supporting, and investing in Native-led organizations across the country. So throughout the month of May and beyond, we call on organizations, foundations, and individuals to help raise visibility, shift narratives, and move resources directly to Native communities. This year, we're excited, in particular, to host Native Nonprofit Day on our new platform, givenative.org. This is a space where Native nonprofits can share their stories, access free fundraising resources, and connect with donors. It's also a place where donors can discover and support Native-led work across geographies and issue areas. Also new for us this year, we're raffling giving cards to donate to organizations on the Native nonprofit list. We want you to try it out. You can see our QR code on the screen. Please take a picture. You may have postcards on your tables. There were some at the information desk, or come find us and we can share them with you. If you haven't taken a look, if you haven't taken a picture of that QR code, please do that. We want to make sure that you're participating with us. And my colleague Sarah Brown is here, our Giving Days manager. I don't know if she wants to raise her hand. She can answer any questions folks may have as well. So, this is how you can take action. If you're a Native nonprofit, join us, register on the platform, share your story, utilize the tools that we've put together so we can collectively advocate for the resources that our communities deserve. If you're a donor, give, donate, not just on Native Nonprofit Day, but consistently. Become a regular donor. Be a part of a growing movement rooted in trust, relationship, and long-term commitment. And if you're a foundation, move more flexible, unrestricted resources to Native-led organizations and tribal nations. Hopefully you've heard that many times the past couple days, and that sinks in. Trust that those resources are going to be used in ways that are grounded, responsive, and community-driven. Because the truth is, Native nonprofits need support every single day. And this moment is an opportunity for all of us, nonprofits, donors, and funders, to come together in a shared commitment. Our voices are stronger when we use them together. Our impact is greater when we act together. We know that Native people carry the knowledge, innovation, and vision to address the most pressing challenges facing our communities. What's needed is not more proof. What's needed is more investment. Trust Native voices and resource Native solutions. And with that, it is my honor to introduce someone whose work reminds us of the power of story. Solange Aguilar is a poet whose voice uplifts and illuminates the lived experiences of Native peoples. Drawing from deep cultural roots and personal experience, her words invite us to reflect, to connect, and to imagine what is possible. Her work is not only poetry, but also presence, memory, and vision. So please join me in warmly welcoming Solange Aguilar to the stage. Piramayaye.
Haku Dagate Devote, my name is Solange. This first poem that I'm going to be sharing with you all is called Prayer for the Spring Equinox, and it's after Ali Shminki. Blessed be the slow awakening, the ice melt, the quiet close of the frost on our temples, the time of reflection, of inward, of sleep, of please wake me later now, I'm not ready yet, I just need a few more minutes of silent dreaming and blue dark nights where the stars shine bone white, our breath only visible at this time of year. Blessed be the rainstorm that melts along and wakes the rivers from their slumber, that moves the earth just so, reshapes and snakes the water across the land, flooding in places it has not seen in a while, like long-lost lovers dancing together after years of imagining what this embrace would finally feel like. Blessed be the seeds that dare to root and burst forth from the womb of the earth. Blessed be the bird song and the birds that practice each note in their dreams, carefully crafting and singing the sun up just like my ancestors have done since the beginning of time. Blessed be the sunlight that kisses our faces each morning, the golden hues that fall on our skin so delicately, the radiant warmth of a star that doesn't have to keep coming back but does anyway, just like the waves of the ocean coming back again and again to kiss the shoreline. Blessed be to honeysuckle, honeybee, poppy fields, the stretching arms of daylight on the horizon, wakening from that winter sleep. Wildflower blooms making the land glow in every shade, making the wind sticky, sweet, and soft with the promise of abundance. I think spring is the most beautiful time of year. I think to be alive is the bravest thing we could do. Spring has always been my favorite season for so many reasons, but mostly these lessons that it gives. That reminder that life is cyclical, that after these periods of rest, of grief, of slumber, of cold, we can awaken anew, we can begin again, we can reshape ourselves like rivers, we can burst forth from what once was nothing and even bloom, we can carry on traditions like bird songs sung throughout dream spaces and the history of time. We can feel the sun on our skin and feel okay again. I hope you know that you will be okay, and I'm glad you've made it to see another springtime. This next poem is called Woman. Sometimes being a woman feels like you're born underwater. Sometimes I feel like I am drowning in my own existence. Other times, I'm a flower floating on the current of life. I'm a storm whose name you repeat on the news. I cup humanity in my palms. I leave you weak in the knees. I bathe in stars. I call the earth who kisses my feet mother for a reason. Sometimes all I taste is salt. Other times I remember that I am alive, born from the sea, just like Venus, just like a stone. I am stronger than anyone will ever know. This next poem is called Ancestral Memory. Thank you. This next poem, I wrote this when I was thinking about how we as human beings have the capacity to hold generational trauma, but also the capacity to hold generational love, generational beauty. So this poem is called Ancestral Memory. My ancestors gave me sunlight, a laugh that sounds like a waterfall, hair that holds the night and starlight all at once. Gave me soft skin, songbird in my chest, red earth, a heart that overflows, prayer in my touch, a penchant for things like good stones, or seeds, or shells, or paint the color of a cracked fruit, the ability to come back in the form of wildflowers, in the form of a stone, in the form of a sea, in the form of foothills and the wind that can dance or flow, the responsibility to care for small things, to love the beasts, to respect the poison just as much as the cure to protect. This next poem is called Alt Universe, and I wrote it when I was thinking about how there must be a universe out there somewhere where colonization never happened. In an alternate reality, the Indian kills the cowboy. April showers never bring mayflowers or smallpox or spit. White people never ask me where the bathroom is in Spanish. In this place, women with voices like rivers do not go missing. The black snake doesn't have time to sink its fangs or leave a scar. My brother never thinks about what his hair would look like if it were short. In my dreams, my eyes are always brown and the rain comes every year. Here, we grow like wildflowers. We cannot be cut down. We cannot burn in a white heat. We do not know of the sickness that is erased here. Loss is not a poison that is enforced so deep that our future can feel it when people speak about us. It is never past tense. Here, we bloom in fields as far as the eye can see. We get kissed by the sun every chance we can get. Our language is as frequent as the wind rustling through the trees. We sleep underneath a million stars every night. This next poem is called Apache Homelands. I grew up in LA, so I didn't get to grow up on my homelands. So I got to visit them a few years ago, and it was this strange feeling of just like wanting to spend some time with this place, but not being able to. So I wrote this poem about that feeling. Yellow flowers, jagged black mountains, a lake near a place called Oasis, accurately named. My heart, spirit feel a pull that I cannot explain to this place I have never been before, but know I must belong here in this place where my ancestors wandered, danced, laughed, walked, ran, watched the sun and the stars streak across the sky so long before me, my mouth full of a language I cannot speak, my hands longing for the earth. This earth, I want to stay here. I know this is home. This next poem is titled Another Untitled Land Back Poem. It is supposed to be an unfinished poem after Andrea Gibson. It'll never be finished. We are the land and the land is us. When I say I want my land back, I mean I want the parts of me that you try to keep, that have been taken from me, the parts that belong to me, the river, the soft grass, the muddy earth, the bird song, the badger, the fox and the oak trees, the sunrise. If you could, you would keep the moon, but we will never let you, not in a million years, not even when I am dust on the wind. This next poem is called You Are Here, and it's just to remind us of where we are. You are here, in the garden of all that is living and squirming and buzzing and holy, in the flower bed, in this womb, in the place where fire licks the earth, where the wind has a good name, a really good name, where the river still runs, thankfully, concrete be damned, this civilization be damned. You are here with me, with us, with the ancestors, with the birds, with the junkus and the shopping carts and the freeways that snake where deer paths used to be, where the coyotes quietly sneak through neighborhoods, where tents have been bursting through the cracks more and more over the years, more than dandelions or poppies. You are here, are a part of it all, are a heartbeat of the land, a speck on a blue marble. How wondrous are we to be so small, and so big all at once, big enough to hold a story, small enough to be mistaken for a star. You are here with me, with us, with the ancestors and the birds in a garden, in a flower bed. And isn't it lucky, isn't it wondrous to be here right now together? This next poem is after Elizabeth Acevedo's poem about Dominican superstitions, but I wrote it about Apache superstitions. It's called Small Things That I Carry. When mourning, you must cut your hair short into the shoulder, bury the black locks beneath a medicine plant, avoid owls and eclipses whistling at night, leaving the curtains open for spirits to gaze upon you. Do not eat your guide or else you will become it. When bleeding, sit still. Do not touch medicine during this time, for you already are. Point with your lips rather than your fingers. To braid your lover's hair is to be most intimate with them. Listen to your elders when they say, we are star people, because we are. We worship the sun and the land and the water. We feel our hearts beneath our feet when we walk in the brush. Beneath the mountains and under the saguaros is when you are most holy, held by the desert and the wildflowers that held your ancestors too. This is my last poem. It's called To My Future Descendants. I hope I pass down a legacy of softness. I hope one day you feel at ease. May you know rest. May you know what it is like to speak in our mother tongues, to belly laugh, to kiss the earth and lay your head down and listen to her heartbeat. I hope you know that I am always with you, that I am both the moonlight and the moth that longs to be with her, that I am a proud ancestor, that I am full of love for you, that every moment I lived, I tried my best, that I was always thinking of you.
Hey everyone. Thank you, I appreciate that. Hi, I'm Vu Lei. I flew here from Seattle, which is on Duwamish and Coast Salish land, and I am so honored to be here. So thank you for having me. I've been here over the past couple of days, lurking in the shadows like a sexy Asian shadow. I don't know, I usually don't feel, I usually don't get invited to a lot of philanthropic spaces, but this one has been very welcoming, and so I usually don't do what I normally do when I'm in a space full of funders, which is to steal as many things as I can, so that in case I get found out, I could leave with as many granola bars as I could. Okay, so today we're talking about power shift. With everything that's been going on, I don't know, socially, politically, and everything's just been really awful. So I'm excited to be moderating this panel today. Things have been dire, y'all, right? Like, please don't clap for that. Like this, it's been really dire, and at the same time, I feel like there's been so much resilience in our community. Our communities have been so strong and been doing incredible creative things as we have always done. Our sector has been incredible. And we need this now. And we're in this sort of existential crisis, I feel like, where we gotta start figuring out, like, what do we need to do? We can't just do the same things we have always done. I like Marvel movies. Anyone seen the Avengers movies? Yeah? Yeah, okay, like 3 people. This is, I kind of liken us to the Avengers. Nonprofit and philanthropy, we're like the Avengers, and we're fighting Thanos, right? Who has basically seized power and has been snapping half of the universe out of existence. And the Avengers, that's us, got to assemble and start working together to undo all the damage that the Thanos of poverty and racism and fascism have inflicted on our communities. But the way we've been operating, if we were actually the Avengers set in the nonprofit sector, has not been very effective, right? Iron Man would be like, I'm only gonna give out 5% of my wealth to fight Thanos because I'm saving 95% for future Thanoses. And Captain Marvel was like, you know what we should do to fight Thanos? We should form a 2-year think tank and research group to study who's gonna be most affected by Thanos. And then 2 years later, they release a white paper. And it's like, guess what, everyone? We discover who's been most affected by Thanos. It's communities of color, it's indigenous communities, it's disabled people, it's trans people. And everyone's like, oh my God, that's so amazing, what progress we have made. And then Doctor Strange is like, you know, can we not say that we're fighting Thanos? Because that's so political. You know, can we just be civil to one another? Can we just like meet in the middle with Thanos? Like, this is our sector right now, and it has not been working. And one of the barriers of us actually working effectively together as the Avengers is the fact that we have so many power dynamics that are very shitty. It's the end of the conference, so I can start cussing, okay? And we just cannot be effective if we have these power dynamics that we don't address. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about how do we address these dynamics? How do we lower them? What's been working well? What do we need to do moving forward? And I am super excited to have some brilliant leaders to be on this panel with me. So please welcome Carly Hare, of the CEO of Headwaters Foundation, and David Herrera from Montana Two-Spirit Society. Next we have Cece Gardner-Glaser, of the CEO of Magic Cabinet, the new CEO of Magic Cabinet, and Rowan White, Strategic Director of Native Voices Rising. All right, I'm gonna go sit down here, y'all. What's that? All right, everyone. I didn't intend to sit in the middle. This is, but that's okay, right? All right. We have 800 questions here in this thing, and we only have the time to get through 3 of them, basically. All right. So a few rules right now before we get started. I feel like our sector is full of brilliant people who have imposter syndrome. And because of that, we tend to do things such as overly intellectualize, right? Especially when we're on a panel. And people are like, ooh, I'm on a panel. I must try to sound academic and stuff, right? So a couple rules. We don't need to sound academic. Please just like be honest. You can cuss if you want to. Feel free to disagree with anyone. Please don't get into fistfights because I can't break them up. I'm vegan. I can't really get between people. So, but if you disagree, that's completely fine, right? So let's start with just a simple question right now. If there were a movie about your life, which actor would you like to play you? We're gonna start with Rowan.
Oh man, I gotta have the heavy hitting one. Is it okay if I introduce myself? I just
Yes,
feel
please.
like, yeah. Sego sewa guego ganyet dahoing gyats. Good to see you all relatives. I'm Rowan White. You know what? I'm at a disadvantage because I'm not a movie watcher. I don't watch TV too much, but who would I pick? Anybody from the crowd got some good options? Maybe I'll crowdsource. We're good at crowdsourcing in nonprofits, right? There we go.
Salma Hayek?
Salma Hayek, there we go,
Yeah,
beautiful.
I see that.
We're good at crowdsourcing in nonprofits, right?
Cece.
Oh my gosh. Hi everyone, Cece Gardner-Glaser. And that was a hard question. Why you start with that, boo?
Why you guys dirty like that?
I know. We was just together for an hour and you, okay. It's really hard. I think I would have to say Angela Bassett.
Ooh, yes.
Because it doesn't matter where she starts in the movie, but she always ends up a badass and with money.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Every movie,
Yeah.
think about it.
Amazing. And also youthful, glowing skin all the time. David.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is David Herrera, and my family's from Mexico. I'm also adopted Blackfeet. My Blackfeet name is White Eagle Tail Feather. And wow, I will say Bad Bunny. So. Because we always get mistaken, no?
Benito.
And he's just awesome. He is awesome. So.
Noah Tatasa Carly Harris, Tatasa Kira de Huda Chadix, Bite Hoadata, Pawnee Yankton. I'm Carly Harris. I'm a citizen of the Pawnee Nation of Oklahoma and Yankton on my father's side. And my Pawnee name is Rakira de Huda Chadix, which is kind leader of men. And I don't know, I watch a lot of film and I watch a lot of cinema. It's how I find balance and unplug from the realities. But I think Janine Garofalo is like who I feel the most akin to and like could do it.
Yeah, she's hilarious. Okay, awesome. Thank you. That was our only softball question. Now it's just getting really difficult. All right, everything is on fire, y'all. Okay, politically, the administration, there's been funding cuts across everywhere and to Native communities and everything. But I would love to hear just some positive stuff, like where have you seen communities being courageous, communities and funders being courageous? What are some stories you've seen that would inspire everyone here, so that we start on a hopeful note here, right? Yes, let's start on this side.
Sure. We work and live in Montana, and the context is very wide and rural. And what is inspiring to me is that even with the divides that we have, when we go to a community, communities show up. It is still mutual aid in action. It is still activation. We are seeing people have to stretch in ways that we wish they didn't. And there is some brilliance in how they are caring with and for their communities. And for us, as a funder who is funding and focused on power building, it's taking organizations that previously never activated or chose to use their voice as aggressively or intentionally at the system, now being in community and shifting the focus, understanding and seeing the system, because these federal changes, state changes, the climate and political atmosphere has really magnified the need for people to be in connection and community and collaboration in a way. And I think those moments of brilliance and those moments of kindness and those moments of grace are the ones that make the struggle manageable.
Yeah, like Carly said, living in a red state is not easy. Fortunate we are living in Missoula, which is the blueberry of the red state. And so it's very fortunate. And, I think it's, for me, so I came out like in the 80s, right in the midst of the HIV epidemic. And so, watching friends, die and, having a government that just literally was, doing nothing and wanted us to die, kind of feels like we're back where we were. Yeah. But the way that, communities came together and there was families and, there are families that, turned away their sons and stuff, but that's where then, we created our own families out of necessity and because we had no choice. And so those are some of the lessons learned. So I kind of go back to what we learned from there, and there are also mistakes that were made. Trust me, there are a lot of mistakes, especially when it came to funding. But I look back and just see, just the necessity for coalition building, and that's what's happening now. And I just think people, I think kind of remember just, that we've been through a lot worse, and we made it through, and as a result, we now have some of the amazing drugs for the immune system, and HIV is now a manageable disease. It's not a death sentence. So there's a lot of good that have come out, and so I think just recognizing that, yeah, it's bad now, and that's not to undermine it in any way, but I think that we have this resilience and we have this ability to come together and to fight, and because we will have to, and things I think are going to get worse. But it does, make me feel good, give me some hope when I see, in Missoula that we had over 10,000 people at the last No Kings, rally, which was huge. And so I think it's that there are people that are willing to stand up and to disagree with what's going on, and so that gives me some hope, and that we'll get through this and we'll win.
Thank you, David. Cece?
Yeah, I think some of the courageous things I see, I think about it on the sides of communities. Like at Magic Cabinet with the Native Voices Rising Partnership, the courageous part is on behalf of NVR. Like not on our side as the funder, because there isn't really anything to lose. The funder wants to move. They're like, we want to partner with Indigenous communities, and it's like you don't know them, so you need to fall back. And so the way that I've seen this beautiful partnership in the last couple of weeks since I've been here, it's been really amazing. I mean, NVR Magic Cabinet presented on a panel yesterday, and I was like, that's like vouching, right? Like we got you, we trust y'all, you're not gonna act crazy in front of our family, and we're gonna be seen in public with you. No, seriously. And I'm like, those are the bold things, and being able to be courageous enough to say, okay, we don't really know y'all, white-led organization before, and we don't know who you are, we ain't seen you before, and the last time some white people came to town, like we know, right, like what went down. So it was like being able to show up over and over and keep trying to build the relationships. And I think those are, there's something happening in Detroit right now, in another space around the downtown corridor where there's very few buildings owned by Black folks, and people are trying to take it over, and now funders are coming in. And at first they're like, well, let us buy the building from you, and then you don't have to have this building, we'll take the weight off of you. And of course, the Black folks are like, no, this has been in my family for 4 generations or 5 generations. But now there's 2 funders that are showing up with, how about we create an MOU and we're in business together, and we'll do the payments and everything, but allow you to keep this building. And even just that process has been 3 to 5 years for them to even trust. Like, am I gonna sign something and come to the building and y'all change the locks? Or what, So I think there's something on the side of community where the courageous thing is to trust the folks that have done all the crazy shit before.
Boom. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, we could cuss.
You can cuss, yes.
Okay, we can cuss. Well, at NVR, we are so blessed and honored to partner and work alongside and be in kinship and relationship with over, last year, 136 different grantee partners. I know there are many of you in this room. And I just want to name, it's hard to, in that position, I can't say that there's one organization that's doing something more bold and courageous and another, because it is bold and courageous to be alive as an Indigenous person today with the world on fire. That you all have persevered and endured in the way that you do, and we have the good fortune of working alongside frontline water protectors, seed keepers, language and culture bearers, storytellers, lawyers, people who are doing all kinds of brave frontlines grassroots work. We specifically at NVR open up pathways for resource mobilization down to grassroots organizations that don't often get funding from larger funders, And so we get to hang out with some of the baddest Indigenous humans, on Turtle Island, who just by the way that they walk in the world, by the way that they are emboldening and empowering our young people to rehydrate the language on their tongues, to reclaim their heritage, their birthright in land rematriation ceremonies and seed rematriation ceremonies. There's all these ways in which each and every day they choose to be alive in the face of so much cultural upheaval and continue to be bold and courageous in our movement work. So I just feel so proud to stand alongside you all. I'm just gonna give a quick shout. Are there any grantee partners from Native Voices Rising in the house? We love you all. You're the why we do this work. So thank you.
I just want to jump off script
Please,
here. I do also think with NVR and the work, 12 years ago, 14 years ago when we started, there were a very small handful of donors that were putting money forward. We gave out $243,000 to all of the grantees, I want to say, that very first year, between like 6 different committees. So people were getting like $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 grants. And we had a couple 10, I think. We were like, you know, you get a bunch of Native people on a committee and they're like, let's give everybody money. And I had to be all hard ass. Not everyone gets money. And I think that's really important to talk about the growth, because that was last year. And then this most recent cycle, it was
$4.3 million.
$4.3 million. Like, that growth in less than 15 years, that was built and out from having partnerships with funders, that was built out from working with the grant partners and grantees very intentionally. Montana Two-Spirit was one of the first grantees of the NVR cycle. It really was a way to think about where we're moving. And at the time, no one was funding civic engagement, organizational, or organizing and advocacy in Indian country explicitly.
Yeah.
Like, we were peppered in some portfolios, we were in buckets, but no one was funding it with the intentionality when NVR got formed, and that growth of just the 15 years. And as you speak to, there's so many grantees who have been doing work consistently and been able to build and grow their base and been able to grow up with NVR as well, because we were giving $5,000 grants out, and last year they were $40,000 grants. And it's just like, it's a dramatic growth that is happening in a short period of time when philanthropy and grantees and partners listen and work together, and philanthropy and foundations and donors get out of the way.
Boom.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm kind of known for yelling at funders and so on, and
Can we adopt you?
I would love that. It just seems like we've been hearing from a lot of Native communities. You know, things are very dire, and I know it's not just Native communities who've always gotten less than like half a percentage point of philanthropic dollars, right? And right now, with everything, with all these attacks, all our communities, communities of color, the trans community, disabled community, we're all under fire right now. And in some ways, it's been disappointing to see, for me, and I think for many people, how philanthropy has been responding, right? So let's vent a little bit.
Oh,
here.
vent sesh. We love a good vent sesh.
Right. So where do you see like the gaps in communities and how philanthropy has been responding, especially in context of vulnerable communities such as rural communities, tribal communities, and so on?
Yeah.
We'll start with Rowan.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. I have a lot of events. No, I'm just kidding. I think there's a couple things. One is that, and I want to bring it back down to the grassroots again, because I think it's really important in these spaces we can get super heady, super intellectual. The place where I'll go into is around time and timelines, right? And so we often see funders working on fiscal years, on calendar years, on different issue cycles, news cycles, political landscape shifts. But our Indigenous people, we work in what I would call deep time. You know, I'm a seed keeper of my Mohawk Nation. I have a deep understanding of seed time, of intergenerational time, of this work that takes generations, that we work in seasons. We work to keep seeds alive across millennia. We have cosmologies and original agreements and agreements with the land. And, you know, having endured one of the largest cultural upheavals on this continent, and how, you know, we're in a post-apocalyptic reality as Indigenous people, we're having to rebuild so many things, and to do that, it takes time. And in, you know, philanthropic cycles of a 1-year grant cycle, even a 3-year grant cycle, even a 5-year grant cycle, that's not gonna be the reinvestment and the resourcing that's needed for many of these grassroots groups to do the work that they set out to do on behalf of their ancestors and on behalf of their descendants. And so the challenge is to the philanthropic sector and field is fund long-term and reimagine and redefine and be courageous in what long-term means, right? This means 10, 15, 20 years of investment instead of these little blips of time where we're investing and then leaving these groups who are doing this critical work, out to dry in that way. So that's, I think, a big gap is just the way that we see time, and there needs to be a culture shift, and Indigenous leaders and grassroots groups are willing to sit at the table like we have with Magic Cabinet and think in longer time frames and think in that deep time ancestor vision so that we can all be good relatives and good ancestors for the future. Yeah.
Sorry, Cece. I really appreciate what you said, Rowan, about like this long-term investment, because it seems so novel to us, but the reality is that conservative funders have been funding 20-year grants over the past several decades. That's why they've been so effective.
Yeah.
Right, and a lot of liberal or progressive leaning funders just refuse to do that. And then take like an entire year or two to make a, like a strategic plan, and it takes like longer than it takes for the average couple to conceive and give birth to a baby to make a grant decision.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So like the times is just like all weird and stuff. So yes, Cece.
Get it together, he says.
You're new, Cece, to Magic Cabinet, so I am very hopeful, right? So give us your opinions on what the gaps are and how you're going to change and resolve everything.
Thank you. I mean, I have a lot of opinions, and this is my first talk since I've been working at Magic Cabinet, so this might be my last day. I don't know yet. But I think, just as Rowan is saying, like we, particularly in Native communities, we have to invest it generationally. Like we can't think we out here killing it because we did 5 years, $7.5 million over 5 years. And then, it's like you think about the attempted genocide of Native folks, stolen land, and then folks out here with money, they think they actually made this money. And it's like, without the conditions that have been set up by colonization, you wouldn't have this money. And I don't care if it's from video games, right? Like, there weren't like a bunch of Native folks and Black folks running around at the video game company. So, the fact that we have this money, that the foundation has this much money, I think really needs to be looked at. But we need to really be thinking, like, we need to actually return this money to y'all. So I went out and worked however many hours a day to give this money back to Native folks because it's actually yours. And I feel like they, of course, funders don't talk about that enough because they really believe like is theirs. So I would really love to see some generational funding, because even when folks are like, we do long term, we do 5 years, we do 10 years. I mean, y'all, my oldest daughter is 33 and she don't got a job, she like exercising. But I'm still like, should I have put her in that camp in 5th grade? Is that where I fucked up? The camp, what? And she's 33, right? So I'm like, I still am questioning my decisions. So why aren't we giving grants for 30 years? To give us a chance to try different things.
Make mistakes,
make mistakes, like all the things. So like some of the things that we're doing at Magic Cabinet now, I'm like, oh, I know how maybe we can get more money out. I'm gonna shift the language to be like venture capital style, because they love that. I'm like, oh, we got seed money. This is an incubator, and then you want to reinvest. We want to try some new things. That's like what I would love to do. And I think having this partnership with NVR has like, we've done it and it's on the website and they be taking pictures, like all the things. They want to talk all about it. And now you have to like stay committed, because you say, like, we trust folks. The other thing too is we don't really do unrestricted funding. That's a whole other thing, but it's like capacity building. And I had a call today with some members of the team, and I'm like, we need to do all unrestricted. And they're like, I don't know, because what are they doing with the money? I'm like, they're doing the same shit with the money with the capacity building. What? We're still having this? I didn't know that.
There's still restricted funding. Y'all, I cannot believe we're still talking about restricted funds right now, all right? I think it's just so embarrassing if you're restricting funding.
I'm embarrassed.
Yes, right?
Bring back ugly
Yes.
shaming.
We're embarrassing the new CEO of Magic Cabinet right now. All right? I just feel like it's so archaic. There's been so much research about how effective general operating funds are that it's like if you're still giving out restricted funding, you're like, I don't know, the climate change denying anti-vaxxers of our sector.
Yes.
Right? Over here.
I love a good bet.
I mean, I'm just going to echo, but yeah, to me, it's just, I feel very fortunate, you know, again, with Native Voices and with Headwaters and stuff that we have had, you know, this just relationship, you know, for not just 1 year, 2 year, but several years. And, you know, it's just kind of this light out when it's like, that's what we need. You know, we need this like multi-year, you know, funding for not, it's like, I'm not here for just a hookup, you know, for a one night stand, folks. You know, hello. You know, I want to build a relationship.
I already apologized, David. You need to bring it up. Go on.
But I want to build a relationship with, you know, with funders and to say, hey, you know, we're talking about, you know, long term, not just, you know, something that's going to last like 1 year and then reapply again. And I mean, just this, in fact, just this year, just one of the funders, the grant that we had applied for said, oh, we're sorry that we couldn't fund you, but we had already funded you for like 2 or 3 years, so it was time to fund. So it's like, what? It's like, so it's, and that happens, you know, it happens more often than you think, where people like, oh, you're doing really good work, you're doing, but you know, it's like, we just, you know, we've already funded you for at least, you know, 2 or 3 years, and we need to move on to, it's like, I get it, you know, I get it, the competition is getting greater and greater, but, you know, the need and to see, you know, how our communities are under attack. I mean, trans, Two-Spirit are literally under attack right now, and you know, the amount of funding going to, you know, Native, Two-Spirit, LGBT is just, I mean, it was like less than 1% of all the total funding that was going to just the LGBT community in general. And so it's just, there's still the need is that is not, it's only grown, it's only gotten worse. And you know, so that's where I think right now, just to think strategically and to build those relationships so that we're talking about long-term funding, not just year to year.
I think so much of it for me is the both and. We need more containers and coordinators and energy resource collaborators and holders like Native Voices Rising, like Native Civic Power. Like we need these spaces that can help us reach different ways because funders are challenged. Yeah, I'm like a philanthropy elder now. I've been in this field for 20 plus years. And some of it is soaked in. And it is hard to think about like, how do you really change a system? All these rules are made up. Everything we think is made up. We don't have a watchdog per se. However, we have to hide out from RAG because RAG is super conservative. But there's no really rules for what we're doing. We've created all these rules in many ways. And so how do we think through what are those rules that are useful and productive? Yes, we try to lean into general operating grants. We try to lean into those spaces. We try to make more spaciousness. Even our program grants aren't hyper-focused, and we're really like casual with them, mainly because we're trying to get people to invest in power building, developing belonging, agency, and activation with their community members. So if we hold that container loosely enough, like this is my, can you hold this? I have this thing that I keep in my brain all the time of like, we need tight wrists and loose fingers. Like we need to know what the container actually is, but we need to be able to flex and move. And if you, David Bowie in a cod piece is one of my favorite things on earth from Labyrinth. And if we need to be able to like roll that ball around and like figure out the magic we need to perform in those spaces, and what can we do with what we have been given. So we know from some grantees, they want us to name the thing. They want us to name equity. Make our grant, If our grant says this money is committed to equity, then no one can take it away from us, and our board can't take it away from us to not do this work. So being selective and responsive to the grantees and their needs is key, I think, for a lot of funders. And we often don't resource our teams to be present. There are national program officers who have dockets of 100+ grantees. There is no way they don't know their people. There's no way they know their portfolios. There's no time for folks to actually do that work. And so how do we think about shifting the system and the culture that we've created in philanthropy to give the spaciousness to have those relationships, to be involved, and to look in the other spaces? The other thing I would add to is echoing one of the earlier panels yesterday is like trust tribes, that they know what they're doing, they build their governments, they're living and running their communities. So make those commitments. And so many foundations are scared of working with a tribal nation or have never brokered it. Yeah, you're gonna get your ass chewed out by council at some point in time. It's gonna happen. My mom's on council and I get chewed out and people talk shit about me all the time. And I'm like, it's just part of what it is. But keep showing up, find that relationship, and make the partnership work that really sits and honors tribal sovereignty in many ways. So we have a 10-year commitment to the Confederated Tribes of Salish and Kootenai in our community, and because we share a geography and we share a lot of service to community together, and we think that's a priority. So we've made that commitment. We've moved those dollars. We continue to be in partnership and relationship with them. And we're also funding things that are maybe even organizing at the tribal government. Like organizing all systems is important. And so we are both anding a lot.
Thank you, everyone. Let's talk about accountability. One of the words that I hate the most in our sector is accountability, because there's so much power built into this word, right? And accountability is always about whoever has less power reporting to whoever has more power. And oftentimes it's very nonsensical, like grant reports. I really don't think funders deserve your own special, unique snowflake grant reports. It's called an annual report. Nonprofits just all have one. But each funder has to have their own special grant report that spells out exactly what this $5,000 or $10,000 grant did specifically. And it's, I don't know, it's an illusion, right? So let's talk about reversing this accountability.
Yeah.
What does it look like when funders are accountable to communities, especially to Native communities?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rowan.
Yeah, I'd love to kick that off. I mean, I will say that NVR doesn't require any reporting of our grantee partners, so we make it a super, super easy lift for the people that we support. And what makes us lean into that even more is that instead of structured reporting to us as funders, or we try and work with funders who don't require a ton of reporting from us, is that at NVR, accountability means that communities have a voice in decision making, right? And we have a strong, tested, over a decade process that Carly Hare over here helped to craft and design to have. This past year we had over 51 community reviewers from all over Indian country helping to make those decisions on where we were going to mobilize those resources to. We recognize that methodology of engaging real people on the ground like you and me to make those decisions is a practice of sovereignty, asserting our sovereignty as Indigenous peoples. And that is the accountability that we want. We know that when we allow our community reviewers to make those decisions, that's the accountability in practice right there. And so we partner with our communities to make sure that we're funding really good folks doing work on the ground. And when you cede decision-making power to communities, you deepen accountability. I'm just gonna say it. That's just, you deepen accountability when you cede that decision maker down to the ground. We don't need people, who have no idea what the work is or who's doing the work. We've talked to a lot of people, including conversations with Magic Cabinet, who say that they don't, they could easily be funding groups that don't have good reputation or good accountability in their own communities. So we're in community, we're working alongside them when we know the good work that they do. So that's what accountability means to us at NVR, is partnering with our community reviewers to make good decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think accountability, the funder needs to be accountable to the community and to the folks that we fund. And oftentimes I don't understand why they don't think we have to do that. Magic Cabinet is a learning organization, so our mission is to shift philanthropy by centering community. So folks would say, well, we need the reports so that we can know what we're learning. And I think that's really interesting. I think the biggest way, like if we need to really be in relationship with the partners that we work with, and through those relationships, we on the funding side can actually, if our organization says we want reports, we can write the report. Like we don't need to ask the partners that we're working with to write the report, because if they're doing work that we don't know about, then where are we and where have we been? And why aren't we actually talking with folks and building a real deep relationship? And I think this is still of course, the favorite thing, the learning journey that the organization is on. Like when they decided to fund Native orgs, they noticed they weren't funding any Native orgs. And they're like, oh shit. Look, but we're really good, white folks. We're gonna have to fund a Native org. And then they go and they're like, hey, Native lady, can we give you some money? And we wanna support you, whatever you need. We got you. And she's like, oh, amazing, boom. You know what, I need a kitchen. I need a kitchen to feed my community. And then it's like, we just do capacity building. But, is there something else it's like, you could give me the kitchen. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, no thanks. I don't know you, so keep it moving. And I think it was like, but, on the side of the funder, it's like, but we're offering you money. All money is not good money, and Native folks have been around for 1,000 years and thousands of years and gonna keep doing the work with or without you. So the question is like, do you wanna be in community and partnership with us and right relationship? Can we actually get to the place where we are a good relative? And I think, so the accountability, I always feel like we need to, how about we start doing reports? I worked at another foundation, and when they would ask folks for reports, and on payday, I just started asking random, program officers, oh, you got paid today. What bills you paying this month? And I'm doing this in the text group, right? Oh, you paying your lights this month? You paying the whole thing? You just paying half? And they're like, why are we asking community what they're doing with the money? Yep. You don't want me asking you how you spending your money? That's real. Like, I don't get it.
Thank you, Cece. David, you operate in Montana, which has always faced political headwinds, and you talk about the importance of advocacy and messaging. Can you talk a little bit about that and how your partnership with Headwaters Foundations have enabled this, and what advice do you have for other foundations when it comes to like the sort of political advocacy and messaging engagement work?
Yeah, Montana, like I said, it's a trip. I love it, and I've been there over 40 years, so it is home. And just feel fortunate to surround myself with people that, again, like-minded folks that are fighting the same fight. And it's not easy when you know that the legislature is passing all of these anti-trans, anti-two-spirit, anti-LGBT bills every session, and it's gotten worse over the last probably Montana. Thank God, they only meet every 2 years, so it's not like every year; it's every 2 years. So we get a reprieve once every other year. But again, it's like the number of bills that continue to get passed it's just astounding to me. So we were part of a lawsuit in 2023 when a bill got passed that basically defined sex as only male and female and based on reproductive ability. And stop. And so it basically eliminated, all non-binary, trans, two-spirit folks from the Montana law. And so we were part of a plaintiff signed on to say, nope, this is not right. We're going to push back against this, and we won. The bill was found the law was found unconstitutional, and so that was it was found, I think, finally it was found unconstitutional in I think January of 2025. Well, lo and behold, that's the same year there was another session, and they passed the exact same damn bill, thinking, oh, well, it's different now because we have a friend in the White House that's going to, make this the rule of the law across the entire country. It's like, so that's what they were thinking at least was, that so they will just introduce this again and get this passed. And it's like, sure enough, they introduced it again, they got it passed. It's the exact same bill. I think they changed the title, but that's about it. So, we're currently now in another lawsuit going to fight this again, and hoping that it's going to be the same result. And the good thing, though, is because it's a Montana, it'll go to the Montana Supreme Court like it did before, and it can't be appealed to the appeals court or to the Supreme Court because it only impacts Montana. So again, I don't know what our state is thinking, that they're going to get some help from the federal government. I don't know, but it's important that we stand up, that we speak and we fight these battles, because we can't depend on the legislature to do it for us. And in fact, that's one thing that I was mindful that I think we've had more change as a result of the legal system than the legislature system when it comes to our rights as Two-Spirit and LGBT folks. And so I really am a strong proponent that we need to remember to support and fund, the lawyers and the folks that are fighting those battles, because without them, we'd be screwed. I mean, we would really be screwed. So yeah, I think it's important that we advocate and that we continue to fight, and as long as it takes.
Thank you, David. Carly, can you talk a little bit about your partnership with David's organization, and what you have learned, what lessons you have learned that could be helpful for the field in terms of power shifting and partnership and saving democracy and fighting fascism and everything? Yes.
I mean, just a few small things. I think the piece around the flexibility of being able to, because the way Montana works, because the way the legislature works, it is 90 days. It's a 90-day sprint of chaos. And there's no staffing that supports the legislature. It's all this kind of intensity that's going on in this bubble. So we need folks to be able to be on point and available and accessible, because it is happening so quick and so fast, and things are being moved very quickly. So we know it's important to make sure that those resources are there, so then when legislation cycle is happening, that we hope and can find ways to support them and other partners who are working really at that state level. Also, I think this morning they announced that Montana upheld, it was a ping in the staff chat this morning. That we won the lawsuit. That at the Montana Supreme Court, it upheld the original decision with the second piece. So, great. Yes, I just saw it this morning on our team Zoom. But I think those pieces of how do we continue to partner? How do we make the spaciousness so folks can be in those spaces? And then how do we help hold space? Because when you are in it and you are focused, how are we as funders, because we have more spaciousness, to be well, let's hold the container. Let's bring some people together. Let's have some space. Let's dedicate some resource to be able to come together and collaborate, not just in the crisis moments and not just in the direct action moments, but outside of those. So we continue to explore and play with that in different ways, and we continue to try to push other funders to think about it. And then we try to work out ways to leverage dollars differently. So when all the onslaught of executive orders started coming down last year, we know what our state looks like. We know what the state administration was going to we had predictions about where they would be focused and how they would use this moment to target in many ways. So we tried to figure out what could we do differently as a funding partner. So yes, we could, and we are just very, very early in this power building. So it's our second year of grants this year focused on this. But we also knew there were grantees who didn't know us and do not know to trust. I mean, who's going to trust us? And so we partnered with Social Justice Fund Northwest, who's here today. Shout out. We partnered with the Pride Foundation. We partnered with the Disability and Inclusion Fund. We partnered with organizations that had collective tissue and connective tissue for grantees that we could not offer. We partnered to bring more dollars for those regional funders to Montana specifically, so we could raise the profile of the more grantees that could get under them in Montana. And we continue to work in those relationships and partnerships to kind of push that forward. We also are trying to mobilize some national funders in different ways too, because national funders pull this, oh, we only fund organizations with budgets of like up to over 5 million. So much of our groups can't do that. They don't serve that. We have not invested in the infrastructure for there to be these big mechanisms in our communities. But there are places that we can do there. Things like intermediaries that exist. There's the ability for us to organize, like Solidaire, I think, is here too. Solidaire supported the infrastructure of the Southern Power Fund during the pandemic. And that mobilized so much capital to rural and Southern and Appalachian organizers in a way that had not existed before. And so thinking about how we can use the containers that exist in philanthropy, the structures that exist that we know they aren't changing dramatically, but we know the tricks. How do we shift them into focusing on where we'd like to focus? How do we get them to trust other funders to move some money where we're gonna trust our grantees and be in partnership? So we keep continuing to explore that. And I also will name, it's still really new. Cece in her role, me in my role. We did on the napkin, not even on the napkin, on one hand count last night at one of the receptions. There are, to the best of our knowledge, once again, will tell the truth, but I don't often tell facts. Like, do not trust me for facts, but I will tell the truth about things. To our best of our knowledge, there are 3 Native women running endowed foundations in all of philanthropy right now. 3 out of the 19,000 foundations we have that are doing this work differently. There are a number of Native that are running endowed foundations that aren't explicitly Native focused. So those of us that are able to kind of bridge those spaces, there's a larger number of women of color at large at these organizations and shifting, and there's a larger number of folks that are at fundraising focused models. Philanthropy, so community foundations, social justice foundations. We've got folks living in those spaces as well. But you're having to churn your fundraising wheel and move good money and try to influence folks when you're in those buckets too. So the ability to shift the sector means there needs to be more of us in those spaces. Also, once again, someone fact check me on this. The First Nations Development Institute did a report last year around board. So yeah, who is at the tables in these organizations and who sits in those boardrooms is really important because things aren't changing unless people are pushing those things. And currently it's something like less than 7% of the top 100, all those numbers are not correct, but they're close. Foundations of the national biggies and larger regionals, less than 7% have a Native person on their board. And so that is frightening and sad. The Ford Foundation has not had an Indigenous person on their board since Wilma Mankiller died, and that was 30 years ago. Like, we need to do better in the field of finding folks. Headwaters probably wouldn't have a Native CEO if we didn't have 4 of our 11 board members that were Native. Yeah. Like, those representation, those power, the ability to show up. And when we hire more people from our communities, this came up in the workshop yesterday, we need to trust those Native people to still be seen as community and not professionalize them or their identity or their experience out of their ability to be in our organizations. Because we say, you're not community now, and you're now this thing. And the weight people carry when having been that person early in my career, the weight you carry and the expectation of being the person in the organization when you're the only person and you're the outlet and avenue is huge. So if you are a executive, if you're a leader at those organizations, remember the care that takes. Remember that person is holding not only the responsibility to make these decisions at the organization, but they are getting clapped back, shot at often by our communities when they can't move and mobilize the way everyone or individuals should think they should. So it is a lot of weight, and it is important that we keep trying.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. For Rowan, I think there's a tendency for a lot of funders to just kind of lump communities into one, right? And as you know, maybe one day I'll become a funder. Like if my plans to start a nonprofit OnlyFans has become widely successful, I don't want to repeat. It's just mostly me wearing a Ross Dress for Less shirt, reading successful grant award letters in a sexy voice. So if you want to subscribe, just let me know. But anyway, the point is, when I make a lot of money doing that and I start like the Voulet Foundation,
Yeah.
you know, I don't want to repeat some of the same mistakes that I've been ranting about. What you work with Native organizations, what's unique about Native organizations and communities that would be really helpful for funders to know in working with Native communities and organizations?
Yeah, I mean, we are not a monolith. You know, we have 570 plus tribes across Turtle Island with our unique lifeways and ways of being. I think if we were to partner and be in relationship, as you know, you as a funder and us as an intermediary, which I think is important to name, that NVR is an intermediary. I think the invitation, and we've learned this with Magic Cabinet, is having a willingness to be changed through relationship, right? To really be present in that relationship and to be willing to change your perspective, your vision, your way of moving, your approach in that relationship and kinship with us as a Native-led intermediary, and with time spent in Native communities to understand what our explicit needs are in the moment and what our evolving needs are into the future. And that's what's been the beautiful part of partnering with Magic Cabinet, is your willingness to be a learning organization, to say, we've made mistakes, we've stumbled, we haven't always done right in this way, but we're willing to be changed, we're willing to sit down and do some deep listening. So that, I think, would be one of the biggest insights or gifts to you in terms of if you were a funder and partnering with Native organizations, is to recognize that kinship is everything for us. It's everything. It's not something that we can hang at the door, when we get into our organizations. It's something that is deeply a part of every aspect of the work that we do. And at the end of the day, the work that Native groups and Native leaders are doing on the ground is not just to benefit Native communities. The beneficiaries of our work is everyone on the planet, our more than human kin, our human relatives, everything. And so as a funder, to understand that it's not just that you're investing in Native communities, you're actually investing in the health and well-being of all. So.
Thank you, Rowan. David, would you like to add some to that?
I mean, I just want to, echo the importance of, what a difference it makes as a grantee to be working with somebody that is either also Native, where I don't have to do the explanations of why, powwows are important, why gatherings are important, why, food is important, why the land is important, because I've had to do that. And, or why it's so important to have Two-Spirit folks as staff or as board members, members of the LGBT community as staff, as board members. I think, I've certainly, I currently am serving on 3-4 boards. And yeah, it really makes a difference to be at the table, to have a voice, and to help make a difference, and to, because it's, when you're in a room with, a bunch of non-Native folks, and they don't see the same thing, they don't look through the same lens, and so, we were reviewing some report that was gonna go out to the community, and I said, where are the Native folks in this report? Where are the LGBT community? It's like, oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, it's like, we do need, because Missoula is not just, white people, we're still here too. So again, it wasn't, it's just like that lens, just on not having that lens. And So that's why it's important, I think, for me to be involved, not just as a grantee, but be involved in my community, and because that's how we make a difference. And I'm so grateful to have folks, like Headwaters and Native Voices Rising, Social Justice Fund Northwest, because there are folks, there's people of color that they prioritize, people of color, and I think that really makes a difference, and it's really made my life so much easier as a grantee to be working with these type of funders. So,
Thank you, David. We have like 2 minutes left, so I just want to ask the final question here. It's been like a really cool couple of days being in the room with so many amazing leaders, right? And we're ending this conference with a really fun reception with really good food, I hope, right? I would just love, as we end this session, just maybe something that you're excited about, something that brings you joy in the work, or just personally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working in such a beautiful collaborative way with Magic Cabinet to relaunch our multi-year funding initiative with the support of Magic Cabinet, which means sustained funding for 4 years for organizations alongside a cohort of peer-to-peer connection, kind of looking at Magic Cabinet's model. And we're just super energized and excited to restore and bring back that multi-year funding, because we had to put it on pause for a minute. So the capacity building that you are helping us to do in this partnership with Magic Cabinet is helping us to be good relatives as well, to say, we want multi-year funding and we're advocating for it. As intermediaries, we also need to walk that talk and give long-term sustained funding and resource mobilization to our grantee partners in that good way. So that's what I'm excited. We're also, just one plug, we're relaunching the Good Relatives Fellowship, which is a donor organizing and funder learning fellowship with non-Native and Native funders all together, doing political education and literacy building on how to be better relatives in the philanthropic field. So we're relaunching that at the end of the year as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Rowan. Cece?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think about the work. I mean, I really, really love the team. This is Magic Cabinet team right here. Shout out y'all, Alexis, Charlotte, Clarice, Layla. The team is so dope. And, I think like coming in here, I'm like, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I got some time to like really just come in, mess some stuff up, keep the things that we're doing really well. But I see so much opportunity. And the fact that we're called Magic Cabinet, like I get to go around and be like, where you work? Magic Cabinet. I love unicorns. And I already said everyone needs to wear wizard robes. If we're gonna be out here being like, we Magic Cabinet, we about to go all the way in. And I'm excited. I'm super excited about that. So stay tuned for the wizard robes, y'all, and the hats and whatever else the team comes up with.
I want a robe, yeah.
Oh yeah, I got you, because I'm gonna get you a unicorn shirt.
Thank you.
I got you, Vu. But yeah, I'm just super excited about the work, what we can continue to do. And the NVR partnership really shows what can happen when funders listen to community and show up. So that's gonna be a model for everything we're about to do at Magic Cabinet.
Thank you, Cece. David?
I'm excited. One, I was excited to see, several Two-Spirit folks here at this conference. I think that was great, and I hope that we see more and more Two-Spirit folks, LGBT folks, at this conference in next year, that it continues, because that means that we're part of the work, that we're involved, that we're being seen. And I just want to give a shout out to there is a national Two-Spirit, Native LGBT organization, Center for Equity, that just is getting off the ground, headed up by Elton Naswood. So we're really excited to be, that we're going to be working with that organization as well. to try and bring some capacity and bring, you know, kind of all the different Two-Spirit societies together to say, you know, what is it that we all need, you know, in our different communities, in our different states and stuff. So to try and, you know, have a voice, you know, and give voice to those that maybe don't have it or don't feel that they have it. So so that's some really exciting projects that are on the horizon. And yeah, I'm just looking to continue to build community, continuing to build coalitions, because that's how we'll make a difference.
I'd say as much as we kind of feel like we're in a dystopian hellscape on any given day, the things that bring me joy are the things that are showing the bubbling. This is a pressure test for us to say, are we going to shift or change? Are we going to evolve as a sector? Are we going to move the work forward? And there are practices and there are people that are stepping into that and stepping around that and mobilizing in this opportunity. And I'm really just hoping it's the death rattle of white supremacy. Like, they can only hold on for so much longer. It's death rattle, and which means it's going to get more vicious, and we need to be prepared for that. But it is going to fade and die, and then we can all just spit on it and throw it away. And I think that makes me excited. But then in all of that too, I also find that like these things are important. It's important that you're here and you're both filling your cup by seeing the people that you need. It's important that you're learning and building and sharing practices with each other, because we are all too tired and all too overworked and have too big of like dockets and workloads for us to do everything from scratch. Like, we need these spaces to connect and build. So I'm excited to be here. I'm gonna be at APFI next week. How do we continue to hold these spaces, and how do we make sure people are prioritizing their budgets to allow you to come to these things, to be in this space? Because for some of us, NAP was a lifesaver for me 22 years ago when I came into philanthropy. I was like, I needed this space. And then, you know, there may have been a late night karaoke last night. I may have had to do a disco nap right before this just to be prepared. But it's moments like that, of like, let's find the fun and the joy, and let's find those cultural references that we can share. So I just want to invoke a little red bone as we go into this space and as we leave this circle. A little reminder, we were all wounded at Wounded Knee in the name of Manifest Destiny. Everyone in this room. We all are experiencing that trauma. Some of us more severely, some of us deeply, but every single day we are living through what that means. And put it to a good beat, and let's jam out to it, and let's fight and dance through it, and then we can come and get your love. And that's where we're going.
Thank you, Carly. Thank you so much, everyone. Please give our panelists a round of applause. Yeah? Thank you. And I'd like to invite NAP CEO Eric Stegman back onto the stage. Apparently, he's closing out the conference with a beatboxing performance.
Well, let's give a round up to our moderator too. So
Woo and boo.
let's give a round to Woo.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for being here. We wanted to end on a real talk panel, so I hope you definitely felt that here. I want to thank Vu, Carly, David, Cece, and Rowan for such an important conversation at this particular moment. Once again, I'm Eric Stegman. I'm the CEO here at Native Americans in Philanthropy. And this was such an honest conversation. Thank you for the woo. An honest conversation about power and resources. This is really why we were originally founded over 37 years ago by many of the people who are in this room still today. But I know our founders would be so proud of what this network has become and how it continues to grow. I've spent the last couple of days really talking to so many of our current, new, and long-standing members of this network, and it has really been moving, and I'm going to get to a little bit more of that later. One of the things that I think is really important, too, is just how this is a moment for Indigenous leadership. I know a lot of us in this room are Indigenous and come from our communities. Many of you are also not, but I'm hearing constantly every day about how other communities are really looking to us right now in this really particular moment. I don't know about you, but I've talked to so many different participants this week who felt like this was almost sort of a medicinal vacation. Even though we were sort of grounded in our work all week, there was a positive energy and attitude about everything that we're trying to do here that really felt like this was the kind of space we all needed, a little bit as what Carly had just said now, actually. I'm really carrying that and feeling that right now. None of this work is easy. It requires trust and accountability, and it requires a willingness to do things differently than we've done before. In fact, I've had the chance to speak to many of you this week about how we at NAP have been reflecting on our role in this work. One of the things I wanted to highlight here at the end is that our role in co-hosting the Change Leadership's Level Up campaign, which is about shifting power in the many ways that we've heard about today over the course of the conference. This campaign calls on funders to increase grant-making budgets by at least 20% and reduce barriers and increase transparency in how they fund frontline communities. For those funders who are here today, who are wondering how to begin these efforts and to help shift and accelerate them, I encourage you to join the more than 50 grant makers who are shifting more than $500 million to better support the field. I'm going to come back. Yes, thank you. So any of you who want to join us, please do that. I'm going to come back to this positive note because I've been here for 3 NAP conferences now. I consider the best one yet. I'm definitely going to get to that when I talk about our amazing team shortly. But there is a certain kind of energy that everyone is really bringing here today that I just felt really supported one another in ways I haven't experienced even at previous NAP conferences. I've been so proud of the spaces, the conversations, but there was something that almost felt like we were all called to be here with each other in a certain way. And I just want to appreciate and give gratitude for all of you for that energy that you brought to this space together. Especially for some of our newest members. My team and I were loving on our team's chat. We were following the Hoover conversations about some of the new members who weren't, part of it. And I was running into a lot of new members who were coming up saying how welcome they feel and how, people were pulling them into meetings and coffee chats and all sorts of other things. And that's what this space was for. This was founded by a small group of Native and AAPI people sitting at one of these tables back at a Council on Foundations meeting back in 1989, because we felt like some of the only people in the sector, and we were one of the most marginalized groups in the sector. And look at what we have today. And this is something that we can continue to grow and develop and create community. And I'm looking at my talking points here where my team had said, insert lighthearted story. So let's talk about bingo. How many of you were at bingo last night? All right. A couple of notes about bingo. We had this at our Minneapolis conference for those of you who were there. It was a fantastic time. I didn't realize how many of our friends and relatives who were not from our communities didn't realize how cultural bingo is in Indian country, but I hope you saw that last night. I was blown away. I walked in about 20 minutes in, and Jessa Ray Growing Thunder on our team is a natural bingo caller, if you didn't notice that already. And the 90s jams that the staff had been curating were like being sung all night throughout karaoke downtown Riverside. So I hope you enjoyed bingo. If you didn't make it to bingo, I hope you make it at the next one, because I think we might have to actually really open up that space a little bit more. We're going to get to what the next NAP conference is shortly. Before we close, though, this is a moment of gratitude, and I really appreciate you all in this room who are here, because there are so many people who come together to make this powerful gathering possible. We are, first of all, deeply grateful to all of our sponsors, and if you can give a big hand for all of our sponsors, please. You've seen them on our slides and out on the stanchion outside, but in this particular moment, it is really tough to bring gatherings like this together. And we have had so many, not just sponsorships, but sponsorships that have come through with these unbelievable notes from so many of our funders about how important this space and gathering is, and we really appreciate you. I want to thank Chairwoman Valbuena and Jessica Stops from Uhaviatum for the welcoming that they provided, and just for their partnership in bringing this gathering together. For those of you who have not been to Riverside in this area, which I know is a lot of you because I've had a lot of conversations this week, this is something we really kind of co-designed with them, and we were really appreciative that they really put a bug in our team's ear to think about, coming here. This is a really important part of California that doesn't always have a spotlight on it, particularly in philanthropy. It's been wonderful to be able to engage with our tribal nations and relatives in this area, and it's just been an amazing space for our conference, so we appreciate you there. Gathering and thank you very much. We're also thankful to the beautiful city of Riverside and our local advisory committee members, Amy Admire, Chrissy Castro, Joshua Gonzalez, Cameron Green, Marisol Inzunza, Roselma Samala, and Rebecca Torres. Please thank our local advisory committee. Any of you who have been on a local advisory committee knows actually it's a lot of work. There's a lot of things that you have to help us, guide us, and do well, and we're just so appreciative for that. I want to thank our audiovisual partners from Terzo and to our audiovisual support folks from Pro AV. You've all helped bring this all to life, so a big thank you to you. Thank you to our communications partners at Rally for helping pull off another amazing conference week. They've been a longtime partner for us. And thank you to the photographers and the staff of the Riverside Convention Center. I have to tell you, this has been one of the most delightful places for us to hold a conference. The staff has been incredible, the space has been really fantastic, and the staff has really been a welcoming staff, so we really appreciate you all. And I hope some of you did a little shopping. I want to thank all of our vendors in our marketplace out there. I saw several of you doing some shopping. It's always one of the most important things that we bring to our conferences from our community. And of course, this is always my absolute favorite part of the entire program. This would not be possible without this absolutely incredible team. Every single member of the Native American Philanthropy team, if I can ask you to come on up to the stage. This is one of our absolute favorite parts of the entire thing. I've been at the helm for 6 years now at NAP, and I have to tell you that this is one of the most important parts of the year for me for a couple of reasons. One, this unbelievably dynamic and talented team is the reason that this network is so strong. So many of you have worked with our program staff, our membership staff, everyone who brings this entire network together. They bring such a rich diversity of talent, communities that they come from, and passion for the work that they do. And they are so committed to everything from the very details of how you're welcomed to spaces like this, to how they're bringing together a table around a certain program. And it's been the best team I've ever worked with, but it's also just a really special team because they've been co-creators in what NAP is today. And they've really built on the most important parts of our roots. They're always bringing innovative ideas forward. And I'm just so appreciative of everyone. So just another big round of applause, please. We're going to do a few special shout outs. I think the first one is I want to thank Kelsey and Brittany on our team for their leadership on the design of this conference. And the staff together wants to do a very special shout out to Autumn Romero, who puts countless hours into making this conference the best one yet. You know, any of you who have run conferences know that these details are pretty amazing when you look at them, but it takes someone like Autumn to really not just make that happen, but to really help organize our team around all of the details that you've seen here, from the floaters to the wellness room. We have really set a standard, I think, out there for our communities, and we just want to really thank you, Autumn. So thank you for all of your help. All right, and as we look ahead, I am excited to share that next year's Conference for Native Americans in Philanthropy is going to take place on May 25th through 27th in 2027 in Anchorage, Alaska. And for those of you who've been with us for a while, I believe, but any of the founders or former staff like Carly can correct me, I do not believe we've ever been to Alaska. So we are really excited to bring this national network there. As I mentioned, one of the things that's so important about what Native Americans in Philanthropy tries to do with its network is to bring our national network to places that we want to really shine a spotlight on and help them understand. Alaska and Hawaii are two of our special geographic focus areas for Native Americans in Philanthropy because of the unique cultural, political, and legal history there. And we're really excited to be able to bring all of you and hopefully all the friends that you're going to recommend this conference to up there to really do some deep learning with our relatives there. We'll be gathering at the Elnina homelands at the Convention Center up there in Anchorage. We'll have lots of opportunities for you to be out in community and to really get to know and build relationships with those communities. So in closing, I just want to thank you all for your commitment to this important organization and this network, especially in this moment. And now we party. So I hope you will join us out in the reception area right outside where we had our opening reception. Thank you for coming, and I wish you all a safe and comfortable journey home.